Hello everyone, this is Steve from stevezanella.com. How are you guys? Hope you're doing well. I'm doing well. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to talk about something that I get asked quite a bit when I talk to people who struggle with anxiety. And one of the questions that they always have for me is if I still get anxious. Or have I reached a point where I don't have anxiety? I don't feel anxious anymore? And the answer is simple. Yes, I still get anxious. I still feel anxiety. And here's why. It's because feeling anxious or having some anxiety isn't a bad thing. It's not an odd thing. It's very normal. It's very common. It's common to get nervous. It's common to feel anxious about things that you're unsure of or things that you've never tried before. It helps to heighten your ability to focus. It helps to make you more aware. But for people like myself and possibly people like you who are watching this, our anxiety reaches a level that isn't common. That when we start to feel anxious, it escalates to an almost unmanageable, and in many cases past an unmanageable level. To feel nervous about something is your mind and body's way of preparing you for some sort of danger. The issue that we run into when we deal with anxiety disorders is that warning system that's in place, that's natural for us, goes a little haywire, gets a little extreme. And we become overly cautious and overly anxious over a possible danger that they're not really in sync. If we were still in a situation where we lived out in the wilderness and we were hunted by animals, our anxiety, our fear would be more justified. But we now feel it driving in cars and sitting in meetings, worrying about things that may happen. And that anxiety seems to spiral out of control. And that's the disorder part of it. So it's important when you think about anxiety, especially for people that have an issue where the anxiety that they feel really takes over their lives and really has a negative impact on their life. It's not about completely eradicating any type of nerves or anxious feelings, but it's about changing your relationship with how you worry and the feeling that you have of anxiety. Think of it as a way of just changing how you relate to it. It's never going to fully go away. And I really hope that when people hear that, they don't get discouraged. It's not about removing all anxiety. And a lot of people think that that's the case. And that's why when people start doing well, they have a tendency to sort of almost relapse. They start feeling good and then suddenly they spiral and now they're feeling bad again, and sometimes it gets even worse than it was before, because somewhere in their mind they feel as though, I thought I was over this and now it's back. And that comes oftentimes from the feeling that it goes away forever. Anxiety never truly goes away forever, but you have to readjust your relationship with how you feel, how you get nervous. Because you're always going to be putting yourself in a new situation. You're always going to be wanting to challenge yourself, to try to do new things that you've never done before, to put yourself in situations that you feel a little less comfortable in, because that's how we grow. And that's how anxiety works to stifle our growth and to make us feel trapped, is that it tries to keep us from pushing ourselves. Because as soon as you start to push yourselves, you start to feel anxious. And then that feeling of anxiety trips that part of our brain that goes into overdrive. And then we start having panic attacks. And then we have trouble breathing. And then we start avoiding things, because that feeling is the trigger. And that feeling is normal. That feeling is natural. It's part of who we are. It's part of the physical nature of being human beings, of existing. It's part of how our brain works. It's part of how we function. So start to think in terms of your anxiety, not as ending it or overcoming it and completely eradicating it. I like to say that we overcome our anxiety, but what I really mean by that is that we overcome the feeling of being paralyzed by it. We have to think in terms of changing our relationship with the feeling of being nervous. You're always going to get nervous. Anytime you do something new, you're going to feel nervous. And it's okay, and it's natural. So think about that. Let that sink in. That the feelings that you're having, the anxious feelings that you get, they're normal, and we need to work on changing our relationship with them so that they don't spiral to a point where we now avoid situations because we feel as though we're going to get nervous. It's natural. Everyone gets nervous. It's part of life. So that's my thought. I wanted to share that with you today. That even someone like myself who comes on and talks about dealing with anxiety and overcoming our fears, facing our fears, I still get nervous. And it's okay. So I hope you find this helpful. Check out some of the other videos on my YouTube page. Hopefully you like it. Hopefully you've hit that subscribe button so that you can keep getting messages like this. Share it with other friends. Share it with other people. Like I always say, you never know who's struggling with anxiety, and oftentimes we struggle quietly and we don't know how to ask for help. So maybe someone comes across a video like this and it can start that conversation and they can start getting help. So again, Steve from stevezanella.com, and if you ever have a question, leave a comment below. Send me an email, steve@stevezanella.com. Always comes to me, and I'll do my best to always respond to everyone who reaches out, because it's important. I'm here to serve you. So that's it. I hope you have an amazing day, and we'll talk again soon.